welcome to today's episode of Candid Kaya. Have you ever been interested in a career in finance? Well, have no fear, Brianna is here to tell us more what it's like to work in finance, and not only that, but be a woman in finance. Stay tuned to hear more. Well, hello, Brianna.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on today's episode, and let's just start with telling the viewers about yourself.
Of course. And also, Nakaya, thank you for having me. It's an honor. A little bit about me. I am from the Atlanta area. I am 29 years old. I went to Howard University to get my undergrad degree in finance and then went to work at Eli Lilly and Company for about 5 years. Worked in various roles in finance and then came back to get my MBA. I'm not a job switcher. I personally love finance. I love the function on the corporate finance side. The MBA was more about being able to progress in my career and to move up when I came back. So that's kind of a little bit about my background.
Awesome. All right, so you mentioned, of course, you do finance. That's been your thing for quite a while. So just give us a little more insight into why do you love finance so much and what motivated you to pursue that?
Yeah. So in undergrad, I actually had no clue what I wanted to do. I picked finance. I got some advice that going into the business school at Howard was the best school or college to be in within the university in terms of getting a job outside of it. And finance, I was like, hey, I like money. Let's see what this is about, right? And so for the first 2 years, it was, kind of doing your typical core business courses that any business major would take, whether you're marketing, finance, HR, whatever it would be. And I was in my core finance, and I was like, oh, it was real banking heavy, and I didn't like it.
Right.
I did not like that kind of the work life that they talked about when companies would come on campus. I didn't like the technical side of it as much, and I was like, this is finance. I don't want to do it. So I took a couple of internships. One was with Coca-Cola in sales. It was interesting, but I'm kind of like, don't want to do that. But a friend of mine actually interned in corporate finance.
Okay.
I believe she was at Verizon, and when she came back and told me about her experience, I was like, oh, that kind of work sounds interesting. So let me try to get a finance internship. I got one actually in investment management. Interesting work, still a little too heavily technical for me. So I was like, okay, let me really see what this corporate finance route looks like. So I looked at a lot of companies, a lot of Fortune 500 companies that had a corporate finance role. And essentially what at least inspired me to look at it was that they advertise having you crunch numbers and you're looking at how the numbers are working and what the numbers are saying, but there was a side of it that was kind of customer facing, if you will, internal customer facing. So you have to know how to deal with the numbers, but then you have to know how to communicate a message internally to help those leaders in the organization make decisions. And that aspect is what I really was looking forward to if I could get that job. So I took a gamble. I got a full-time role at Eli Lilly. They kind of had the best program just based on the companies I looked at. And I knew I'd get a lot of opportunity across the company within the finance organization. And 5 years later, it worked out. So.
Perfect. So I kind of hear you saying it wasn't always something you just knew instantly that you were going to work in.
No.
And so that's interesting for you guys who are currently in school and you may be, you might be a business major. It's important to really understand kind of the trajectory that Brianna took in order to get into corporate finance once you guys graduate. So thanks for sharing. Let's see, what characteristics do you think would make a good leader in finance or just a good worker in finance?
So just my own perspective and opinion of what I've seen be successful. The numbers matter, right? Like you have to have a competence and like a strong kind of base in terms of, for the corporate finance side, just bare minimum in terms of being able to do budget control, being able to analyze big data, big large sets of data and not getting too frustrated too quickly. Knowing how to manipulate that information, like all those technical skills, you need those. But I would say that's about 30%. I think what makes someone more successful, and I got lucky in getting a boss who told me this very early, the data is going to say what it says, and you have to know how to pull that data correctly together, right? You have to be competent. But what makes you successful is being able to communicate that information to people who don't do that on a regular basis.
Right.
My job, when I first started, I was an analyst in an R&D division, scientists, right? Like they are excited about doing their work. They're excited about being able to conduct research. They're excited about being able to, solve medical problems and solve unmet needs. They could care less about what the budget looks like. So it's our job to basically help those leaders of those organizations see what their budget looks like and be able to accomplish their goals within the budget that they're given, and make them care about that, right? Help them prioritize, help them make tough decisions. And so it became more about, okay, pull the numbers together, pull the data. What is it saying? And then how can I help those leaders really prioritize and make those decisions? And to be honest, that was the part that I loved the most. I think working in finance, you have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to empathize. You have to be able to understand where others are coming from. You have to be able to work cross-functionally, because at the end of the day, if you're dealing with the money, you're going to have a seat at the table,
right?
Because that's the part that companies need to understand in order to stay profitable, right? So being able to have those soft skills and honing those soft skills and being comfortable kind of, challenging upper leadership, those are some key qualities to being successful.
All right, Brianna, now I'm going to ask you for some of your advice. What advice do you have for young women who aspire to be in finance one day? Overall, just advice that you have to help them succeed in doing that.
So my advice for young women, and to be honest, for everyone, my biggest thing, first off, is don't be afraid to speak up. We talk about diversity in terms of gender and ethnicity a lot. We don't talk about age a lot. And I think it's important that young people coming into the roles are comfortable and understand that you are there for a reason and they hired you for a reason.
Right.
They saw something in us that said that we can add value to this function, we can add value to this organization, and we don't have to wait 5 to 10 years to do that. So the biggest advice I got early on was to speak up in meetings if I have something to say, if I see something, or if my analysis says, something that may be different than what leadership is thinking.
Right.
And you do it respectfully, but you do it confidently. And that's something that I would urge young employees coming in, and as you move up, to be comfortable doing immediately. Don't wait. Now, don't try to overextend, but don't wait. The second piece that was wonderful advice was get your mentors and get your sponsors early. As you're going into whatever organization you're going into, no leader has done it on their own, right? So find those people who you can connect with, who've been there, who know how to navigate those waters, and don't be afraid to look outside of people who look like you. I have some wonderful Black female mentors at my company that I stay in contact with all the time, but I also have some wonderful mentors and advocates who don't look like me, who are older, you would say older white men or older white women or younger white men and women or Indian, Asian, whatever. That didn't matter. The commonalities that I found was that they had gone through similar experiences that I had, and they knew what advice to give, and they knew how to help me avoid certain mistakes. It doesn't matter 100% that they look like you. So being comfortable expanding your network will take you a lot further, and don't box yourself in. So those are 2 pieces that I would definitely push.
Perfect. So as a millennial, a lot of us are known to be entrepreneurs, even work in corporate America, or just in general, be out there doing our own thing. So tell us, why corporate America for you and for others, actually?
Thank you for the question. And shout out to my entrepreneurs, because I think it is commendable for one to step out and to start their own business and to grow it into an amazing organization. For me personally, I enjoy working in an organization that's kind of already established. I mean, and that is a viable option for us. I have learned so much about the pharmaceutical industry. That's where I've been for the most part. But I've also had opportunities to intern in various different big companies and learn about how the products are made, learn about how manufacturing operates, learn about how you sell a product, how you do all these different things. You get access to large established organizations that have things in place to do it. And I find that interesting. I think the other piece is that there's sometimes this, we're coming out of it, I think, but there's this stigma that particularly minorities are going to reach some kind of glass ceiling. Like we're not, there are a select few of us that are going to get to the top, right? Like 1%, I don't even know if that's the number, but 1 or 2% that are going to make C-suite, and then, the rest of us will be, pushing for scraps. And I kind of want to change that. I think at the end of the day, we have something valuable to bring to these organizations. It's okay for us to like someone to work in an organized, established business. And one day I want to lead a global brand. I want to lead a global business unit within one of these organizations and have that platform and show that, Black people, Black women, we can be in this space and we can do well in this space. And I think that is some of what drives me to it. And that is some of what wants me to push others to come in, is that we need more in our pipelines. It's not, and I don't mean just my company or just one other company or one other industry. There's a lot of wonderful talent out here that I think these companies could really benefit from getting our perspective. And I think as more of us come into the space and as more of us learn how to be more comfortable in our authentic selves and confident in what we can bring to these companies, we can change the narrative about how successful we can be collectively at these companies. And so for me, it's been a place that I've been happy. I've been able to establish a very fun and secure life. I've traveled the world. I've had opportunities that I think I would not have had otherwise had I gone a different route. And so I want to market it a little bit because I do want people to understand finance or any other function in business. It gives us that opportunity to learn so much and to do so much more. And so that's been what's pushed me to stay and to thrive as high as I can.
Perfect. So Brianna, one last finish my sentence question. As a Black woman in finance, I hope to...
Okay. That's a good one. As a Black woman in finance, I hope to professionally climb that corporate ladder and make it to C-suite, and let's jump up these percentages for Black women of color women of color in these positions. And with that, I hope to be able to open the door and expand that opportunity for people that look like us. That's my biggest goal in life, and hopefully I can get there.
You gonna get there, sis? Ain't she gonna get there, y'all? All right. So Brianna, side note, is also my classmate at Emory.
Yes.
So we're both out here trying to do that business thing, y'all. So support us. Brianna, tell everyone how they can keep up with you.
Not a huge social media buff, but if you like to follow me on Instagram, I'm Afrobeat. Come see a little bit about my life and this whole professional journey I got going on.
I'll make sure to add that below. If you guys have any questions or comments for myself or Brianna, just leave it below and we'll try our best to answer them. And you guys, thank you so much for tuning into this interview. This concludes today's interview, and we'll see you again next time.